Hi everybody, welcome back to AP Language. We have finished the first part of our unit on Romanticism. We read Washington Irving. It's The Devil and Tom Walker. Washington Irving also wrote The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, which is probably one that you read in grade school. And we've read a selection of the Fireside Poets. These are both very traditional manifestations of Romanticism. This week, we're going to be seeing some less traditional variations on Romanticism. In fact, we're starting to see the pendulum move. We're starting to see it get out into extreme ranges, and we know what happens when that happens. So we're reading two pieces this week. They're both challenging reading, but they're not terribly long. One is an excerpt from Thoreau's Walden. Basically, Henry David Thoreau decided at one point that in order to practice self-reliance, he needed to completely flee civilization. So that's exactly what he did. Walden is the memoir he wrote about the time he spent in the woods. Thoreau was a particular kind of romanticist that we call a transcendentalist. This actually started with Emerson, and all of this information is in your introduction to Romanticism packet from last week. So before you write this week's response papers, you're going to want to go back and review the introduction to Romanticism, because it has a new sidebar that you're going to have to use. Transcendentalism really absorbed all of the tenets of Romanticism that we've talked about before and expanded on them. So in addition to the traditional romantic notions, Transcendentalists also believe that everything in the world, including human beings, are divine, a manifestation of the divine soul. Transcendentalists also believe that all of the physical facts of the natural world, so the trees, the air, all those things about us, are a doorway to the spiritual world. So, in other words, you reach God through nature. Transcendentalists also believe that people can use their own intuition to behold God. So you don't have to go through a religious tradition of any kind. God is available to everyone through their intuition. Or intuitively. Self-reliance and individualism are very big for the Transcendentalists. They reject the idea that you need to conform to any particular social structure, custom, tradition, anything like that, if it goes against your nature. Your nature is the most important thing. So, self-reliance and individualism. And last but not least, for the Transcendentalists, spontaneous feelings and intuition are superior to deliberate intellectualism and rationality. So here we get about as far as we can get from rationalism and the age of reason, right? in a different way, you're going to see the same sort of extremism, not the same tenets, but this extreme version of Romanticism in Edgar Allan Poe, who takes up the second half of our week. Now, we are reading Masque of the Red Death. I will warn you, in case you're easily triggered, Masque of the Red Death is about an epidemic. It's very artfully told. It's not like reading Stephen King's The Stand, where it's very much in your face, but this is about an outbreak, which makes it, for us at this time in the world, very, very timely. Masque of the Red Death is probably one of Poe's most famous pieces. It's not terribly long, but Poe is a very artsy writer, very fanciful. And in Poe, who's one of the dark romantics, and also in Hawthorne, and probably Melville as well, although we won't read any Melville. What you're seeing is a different extreme form of Romanticism that focuses on the sort of dark side of the Romantics, where Thoreau and Emerson take all of the nature and intuition material and focus on that part of Romanticism to get this extreme form we call transcendentalism. Poe and the other dark romantics take pieces like this: myth, legend, and folklore, exotic locales and the supernatural, poetry, faith and inner experience. These are all aspects of the dark romantics. That said, you can see similarities, because they're both romantics, between Poe, who's one kind of writer, and Thoreau, who's a very different kind of writer, but they do have things in common. And at the end of the week, for your response paper that you'll be writing on Friday, that's what you're going to focus on. So while you're reading Thoreau, while you're reading Poe, and while you are going back and reviewing your Romanticism reading, I don't think you need to read it again, but take a good look at the sidebars, they'll help you. While you are doing that, think about what kind of comparisons you can make between these two authors. What do they have in common? Now, just to help you out a little bit, I will tell you, I'll give you a 10-point extra credit on this response paper if you use our word of the week, because our word of the week is conformity, and that's a little bit of a hint too. I hope you're staying safe. I wish I could see your smiling faces, but when we get back in the classroom, we'll do that then. Take care. You know where I am if you need me.